book. I mean, this is a good place for anyone that doesn't know your work to this point to jump in and become familiar with it. You've done a beautiful job. And we're talking human race, get off your knees. And this is the get off your knees part. And this is toward the end now when you're talking about solutions. And we're going to backtrack from here because I really want to get into this moon matrix thing, but I want to bring up just one point that I thought just so perfectly illustrates it. It's the scenario you had with Jamie, your son, when you were trying to take him for a wee. He had to pee really badly. You were trying to take him to a gas station, a petrol station in British English, for a wee.
Yeah.
And this is where we come down to where we're caught in a matrix where our minds aren't working anymore. We're just playing out robotic programs. And please illustrate what happened in that story. This is basic rules.
It's the rule book mind, where people have given up any connection to consciousness, and they've got the rule book and they've just inserted it into a slot. And that then filters all their sense of reality. I was out with Jamie. We're going down what you call in America the freeway, the motorway in England. Actually, not far from where Scott comes from, actually. And he's desperate for a wee, so there's no way to go on a motorway for miles. So we turn off into the back streets of a place called Eastleigh, right, and near Southampton. And eventually, after some time, and it's getting critical.
He's wiggling.
We turn into this what you call gas station, and I start putting some petrol in the car. He goes in and he comes back like holding everything up that will move, and he said they won't let me go to the toilet. So I thought, this is ridiculous. So I go in to the people, and there's two young girls there who, how can I put it, they wouldn't win Brain of Britain. In fact, they would probably not win Brain of that gas station. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, look, my son wants to go to the toilet. He's desperate. We haven't got a toilet. I said, well, what do you do when you want to go? She said, we go to staff toilet. I said, so you've got a toilet then? Well, yeah. I said, the boy's desperate. Look at him. Well, it's against the rules. You can't go to the staff toilet. So I said, where's the bloody manager, right? And the manager, I call for the manager. The manager walks in, this woman. She was only a small woman, but somehow she kind of looked down on everybody, you know.
Including you, who's 6'3" or 4.
You know when this part of the nose it kind of points upwards, you know, because the nose is so much in the air, right? So I said, look, excuse me. I said, either I'm going crazy or someone here is, and you know, my boy wants to go to the toilet, right? He's desperate. Look at him. And you've got a staff toilet. So, can he use it? You know, no, not allowed going to staff toilet in public. I said, why? Why couldn't you make an exception? Great line. She said, well, if we did it for one, we'd have to do it for everyone. How many people desperate for the toilet do you get in a week, and a month, or a year, you know? And then the funny thing was that other people in the queue, instead of seeing the nonsense of this, you know, as you would, look, lady, the kid's desperate for the toilet, let him go, don't be silly. It was like, how long you going to be? And it's like, oh my God, and it kind of encapsulated to me just how a few can control the many.
Yes.
You've got a basic injustice here, quite clear. This person can't deal with the injustice because she's on page 25 of the rule book, you know, clause A3 triplicate, and the people in the queue are not bothered about the injustice. They just want to get to the till to pay. And that, you take that and you play it out across the mass of humanity, and that is the mentality that allows the few to control the many.
Exactly. That's why I wanted you to bring it up, because it's a very simple thing that every one of us goes through, probably on a daily basis to one degree or another. But it's no different than what you were talking about, the structure of the political system and the making of laws. We're buying it right down to whether or not we can wee somewhere when there's a toilet right around the corner.
This is what we've just been talking about, Regina, of course. Okay, you bring it back. Basic fairness, basic justice, basic integrity, basic fairness. Here is a boy, he's desperate for a wee. You have a toilet over there. I see a way out of this, right? It's so simple. But the rule book, no, the rule book says you can't do it. Well, what does your brain say? You know, what does your heart say?
What's your heart say?
What's your mind say?
Exactly. Well, this illustrates the point. But now we can, I think now we can work around to the moon matrix. I want to talk to you about the moon. This is one of the areas that you really started going into recently in your newest presentation, and also in this book. And it's a lot of people's minds are really tweaked on this part, thinking, may have heard a little rumor of that from time to time, but you go into it in much more detail. And so, why don't we launch in, starting from probably, well, I don't know if you're comfortable with this part, but you were actually in the process of just beginning to research this a little bit. Tell me if I'm correct when you got that feeling when you were at the computer that something was amiss. Just tell us how this suspicion came up for you to begin with, and then we'll go into credo and everything.
Well, what's happened in the last 20 years since I first saw a psychic who said, I'm getting information, this is what you're going to do, and I'm thinking, I'm going to do what? But anyway, one of the things that came out at that time, when she was telling me in 1990 that this is what you're going to do, and they will always be there to protect you and all that stuff, one of the lines was, we will put information into his mind, and at other times we will lead him to information. And there was another thing that said, arduous seeking is not necessary. All you have to do is follow the clues. It was all organized a long time ago, was that effect. And that process has followed me all the way through. And it's become more and more powerful and more obvious to me, because you recognize, I mean, you would have done the same. People watching this would have felt the same. You go through something and it becomes, you recognize it immediately. So I'm writing Human Race, Get Off Your Knees. And I sit down at the computer this morning, and the energy in the room shifted, and I thought, here we go, I know this. And what went through my mind was, the moon's not real. The moon's not real. It's not like you think it is, or words to that effect, necessarily word for word. And I'm thinking, the moon's not like I think it is, the moon's not real. Okay. So rather than dismiss it, because I've been through this process so many times, and it's proved to be accurate with the passage of time, I've put a few words into NetFind search engine, and up has come a book called Who Built the Moon, which I'd not heard of. I sent for it and read it immediately, and it's by two researchers and writers who've written other books, and about the fact that the moon can't be a natural body. It's the way it's constructed, the size of it, where it is, and everything. And you know, you're born into this world, and you tend to accept what was here when you arrived as well. That's how it is. This is one of the dangers now with young children and young people who are being born into a world with ever greater surveillance and control and all the rest of it. We are the last generations, for the moment, that have the ability to see what it was like to what it's become. Young people now are being born into what it's become, and that will become their norm, their starting point from which they perceive everything. And so one of the things we have to question is all preconceived ideas about everything. Because when I started to read about the moon, you know, you're born and there's the moon and it goes through its cycle, and well, it's the moon, mate, isn't it? And then when you start to question it, you go, whoa, I never knew that. First of all, scientists have no idea where the moon came from. One of the things you find when you research this stuff in many subject areas is what is perceived and indeed presented as scientific fact turns out to be someone's bloody theory that has become alleged fact through sheer repetition. So if you look into a mainstream explanation for the moon, it will go along something like a Mars-type planet crashed into the Earth when the Earth was kind of still forming, and a great chunk of the Earth flew off and became the moon. It's called the Big Whack theory, or the Whack theory. And then when the physics of that didn't work out, they came up with a double whack theory, where the Mars-type planet hit the Earth and then went away and came back and gave it another smack. You know, the old 1-2. You know, it was you know, the moon was created by Joe Louis or something. You know, and you think, well, That's just a theory. And the second bit, the double whack, is only a theory because the first theory didn't work out in terms
Well,
of
and in that one, the
maths.
first thing that occurred to me many years ago at that was, well, how come it's so perfectly round?